tonight. We have a special treat for you tonight talking about technology. We'll go over a couple of housekeeping items. I just want to remind you that next week's session at 7 p.m. on January 27th will be all about developing your personal brand, or excuse me, your professional brand. And that will be with Ellen Helbert, who works for Florida Training Solutions, and Lee Height Harrison. So she'll be spending time helping you think about what that professional brand looks like, take you through some exercises as it relates to that. And she's a fabulous person. I think I've told you before that I've worked with her before. And you'll notice tonight we'll reference that throughout tonight's session when you're working with Mercedes on some of the elements for your LinkedIn profile or some of the other technical pieces she'll be talking you through tonight. So you certainly won't want to miss next week's. If you missed last week's session, we'd be happy to email that to you. Michelle Talwani talked to us all about making relationships count and how to build and enhance your professional network. But tonight's session is all about removing some of the fear bases or some of the challenges that you might experience in technology, specifically when it comes to working through your job search. And so we have a really exciting moment because Mercedes Gorman is our lead researcher at Oriana Solutions. She's a library professional by day, so she's extremely passionate about connecting people to information. But tonight is her debut presenting for us at Oriana Solutions. So although you'll hear her reference some of her presentations she's done for other efforts, tonight we're really excited to welcome her to the Oriana Solutions presentation team family. So I know you're going to enjoy tonight's session. It's really going to be focused on all of those elements that you can utilize in your job search. And there's no question that is off limits. So I do want to let you know that. You're welcome to keep yourself on mute and utilize the chat function if you'd like, but otherwise feel free to just keep yourself on from a microphone perspective and just share what those questions might be along the way, because she's going to advance through quite a few pieces of technology and some platforms tonight, and we would want to make sure that we're answering your questions along the way. If you are by any chance going to view this as a recording after we've shot this live, you're always welcome to email any questions that you have to connect@orianasolutions.net. And Mercedes will also be sharing some resources via email after the fact to give you links for what you're finding tonight. So if you see something tonight and you're worried you're not keeping up in your note taking, please rest assured we'll send you the links after she takes you through all of those pieces. And so with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to welcome Mercedes and ask her to just take over for the rest of the evening.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Mercedes again. I work at a library in North Central Florida. That's a pretty big metropolitan area with really amazing funding. So I will spend a little bit of time tonight talking about libraries, but I won't bore you too much about that. And just real quick, I want to go over the topics that I'm covering tonight with you. There may be things that I cover that you're pretty well versed with. I would recommend you to just, sort of pay attention anyway, just in case if there's something in there that you haven't learned before, or just, sort of paying attention for the next subject because it may be something that you need. I will ask you to bear with me real quick as I get my screen situated. I'm going to be doing a lot of screen sharing tonight, so I probably won't be looking at my camera as much as you're used to with some of our other webinars. But unfortunately, I only have so many eyes, so I can't do too many things at once. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to talk to you about tonight, and let me just pull up the chat real quick, if I can find it. First thing I'm going to be talking to you about tonight is LinkedIn. So in the professional field, almost all of us have heard of LinkedIn. We're familiar with LinkedIn, but it may not be something that we are utilizing a ton right now professionally. So as you can see, we're looking at my LinkedIn profile at the moment. I don't have the best profile. I still haven't even hit the 30 connections that they want me to hit, and my profile strength is intermediate. But the great thing about LinkedIn is that it doesn't just have to be a regurgitation of your resume. It can be something that you can have a little bit of personality with. So you can see that my headshot, I am wearing a suit, but I have, my fun little pink shirt. I have a nice bright natural background. I'm not like in a more traditional business setting. You can also see that my banner image is books and a rainbow, because as you know, a library professional, I am very, very passionate about providing resources to communities, particularly underrepresented communities, and in particular the LGBTQ community. So I've used my header as something that's bright and creative, and something that's important to me professionally as well as personally. And as well, you can see right here, the headline on your profile can be really important. It doesn't just have to be a job description. I think Michelle said it last week. It's not called the job description line for a reason. It can be something that, you use to grab people's attention. You can use it as a way to, say what's most important to you or what you really want to focus on. And it can be something that adds a little bit more flair to your LinkedIn profile. So I will show you as well Michelle's profile real quick. I'm at the bottom, sorry. And you can see Michelle has a significantly larger network than I do. She also is a premium member. You can tell that by like the gold in symbol by her name. But again, she has that sort of more natural looking headshot, which is amazing, with the blurred background, which I'm going to talk to you about in a second. And then again, that sort of fun and creative banner that draws attention while not being, necessarily directly related to her organization or her work. And her headline is also, sort of like the headline you might see on a resume, those skills that you really want people to know about you right off the bat, instead of just what she does for work. So if you want, you can chat storm while I'm talking with some ideas of what you could use as a bright creative header on your LinkedIn profile. But otherwise, I'm going to take a minute to go back to my profile, and I'm going to show you a few tips to sort of make your LinkedIn profile a little bit better suited for you personally. The first thing that we can do is edit our URL. So a lot of times on LinkedIn, your URL is going to be your first name dash your last name and then a whole string of numbers. And that's fine, but you can also, for free, you can edit that. So to go back, I just hit up in the top right-hand corner this edit public profile and URL section. And then if we go here, you can see you can edit your custom URL right up at the top. It's a free feature with LinkedIn. And let's say I decide that, I would rather have a dash back in my URL. I can go ahead and I can do that, and I can save it. So that's a really easy way to just sort of put a more personal and professional looking touch on your LinkedIn page. So if you include it on a resume or a professional online portfolio, it's not, name and numbers, it's just your name. Another thing that I would like to talk to you about real quick is the featured section. And this is going to tie into something else that I talk about later. I don't have anything on my featured section, but you can see if we go to Michelle's page, we can go down to her featured section, and she has some articles here that she's highlighted that she feels are really important to her work, or really important to, the types of work that she's interested in. And you can use this for a lot of different things. You can use this for, sorry, where are my words? You can use this for the articles that relate to your job. You can use it for articles that you've written on LinkedIn, and you can also use it if you decide to create a blog. So if I wanted to go ahead and add a featured article or link, I'm just going to go here and I'm going to hit add feature. And I haven't written any blogs really. So instead I'm going to hit links, and I'm going to do, let's say, I'm going to add the Oriana for Women's page, because that's something that I'm obviously involved with. And it's something that I would like to, oh, I need another W there. I would like to showcase on my LinkedIn page. What am I missing here? Oh,
The
no.
S, there you go.
Yep, I got it. Okay, all right. So you can see it has the big headline image that we've been using, and then some information about the For Women or the Women Not Working webinar series. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add this to my featured page. So now people who visit my page can see that. And one other thing that I did want to mention while we're still on LinkedIn is that talking about strength of profile, like as you can see, mine is an intermediate page, and it's okay that if yours isn't, super well done in the way that Michelle's is. But if you'd like, since Michelle did tell us to be brave, you can go ahead and add me as a connection once we're done. And then that way, we can help each other build a better network. And then let me see, there was one other thing that I wanted to show you, and it was the add profile section. So you can see here, once I've scrolled down the page a little bit, there's a blue button that says add profile section. And I'm gonna add some skills because that's something that can be super useful for marketing yourself and helping if you do job searches on LinkedIn. So based on my profile, it's suggesting a few different things to me. So just right off the bat, I'm going to hit library circulation, public libraries, electronic resources, and then let's say skills, I want to do reference interviews because that's something that we do a lot in libraries. So I can add that. So you can either use the ones that they suggest or you can type in your own, and then I'm going to hit add. Then you can see down here at the bottom, it has automatically ordered them as what they think are the top 3 skills that I have. And then the other ones are hid under the read more. But if I want, I can go into this little edit button where the pencil was, and then I can change this order. So I could decide, I don't want electronic resources here. I would rather have reference interviews, and you can use the pin button to determine the order. Or, let's say I want to have, I can't have more than 3, so never mind. But then I can save that, and then, I've decided what my top 3 skills are. So one other thing about featured articles, Ellen next week is going to be, not next week. Ellen,
yes,
at some
next
point,
week.
Next week, it is next week. Ellen is going to be talking to you a bit about what type of articles you can put in your featured section to help build your professional brand. So, don't worry too much about content right now, but at least now you know how to add those. So to go back to our concept of the headshot, my headshot background isn't super blurred, but Michelle's is, and it makes her like the focus of this photo, which is the point of it. So, taking a good headshot doesn't have to be super hard, and it can be something that you can do on your own, and you can make it look blurred and professional like that yourself. So let's say, you don't have a nice camera, you can't afford to pay a professional photographer. That's okay. You don't have to do that. Camera phones, like smartphone cameras these days, are so good that you could use that just as itself if you want. I would recommend having someone to help you because it can be sort of hard to like manage the tripod and the timer and posing really nicely, although I wouldn't recommend posing like this. So having someone to help you can be really awesome. I will say that my headshot, which I'm going to show you in just a second, was taken by a camera, and it has been edited already, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be. I'm going to show you ways to edit it a little bit more. So I'm sorry, just give me a second because it's telling me that I need a code to log into my account here. Verification code. Okay. Sorry, I thought I had everything all set up. Okay, so while I'm trying to figure this out, let me just tell you a little bit about what I'm trying to show you. So this is Adobe Photoshop Express. This is a free version of Adobe Photoshop that is available online. You don't have to pay for Photoshop, which can be a little expensive and a little intimidating to try to use. Okay. But Express free online, you do have to have an Adobe account, which you just saw me trying to figure out. But other than that, you can use that no problem. So the trend on LinkedIn right now has been sort of more business casual photos with more of an organic background. So once you've taken your photo, so my photo is taken in front of a bush in my backyard, you can go ahead and use a program like Adobe Photoshop to edit your image a little bit. So my image has been edited somewhat, and that, you know, it's looking pretty good, but we could do some more touch-ups here. I will say one tip: when shooting a headshot, make sure that it's in portrait mode, so it's taller than it is longer. Most websites are set up for a portrait mode photo to be better suited to their avatar or their, you know, their profile picture or whatever. One caveat: that is not true for videos. If you are shooting videos, shoot it landscape. Don't, because then it's got weird borders and blurred, and it just, things end up looking a little funky. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to blur the background. And this can be good because it can make you the focal point of your headshot, which is sort of the point of the headshot to begin with. And to do that, I just hit this little remove background here with the scissors. And it went through the whole processing thing, and now I have no background. Never fear, your background has not gone away entirely. You can see over here under blurred background or blur background, there are 3 different options. You can click any of these. This one is technically 0, but we can take the slider and we can slide that. I would not recommend, if you use Photoshop, like Photoshop Express specifically, I would not recommend using any of their presets, because like a 50% blur is too much. It's like overwhelming. You look like you're like haloed weirdly, and you're like descending from like a beam of light or something. We don't need that. So there is no hard and fast rule about what specific number or percentage of blurring you should use. It'll depend on the program that you're using and what type of background your photo has. But we're gonna, let's say we'll go with like, let's see if it'll work, like 20%. So you can see it's blurred it nicely. It makes me the focal point, and it's not too strong, it's not too light. It just sort of makes you pop as the figure of the photo. And then we would be able to hit apply, and it would save, and everything would be awesome. I will point out real quick, there is another option where you can just save this. You can hit this first option and you can save this as a PNG with a transparent background. Now that can be really useful if you're creating like a presentation in PowerPoint or something like that, and you have a color background, but you don't want to have your headshot with like the outline, either with a specific color or with your whatever background you have on your photo. So you can take this and you can save it as it is to just put it straight into a PowerPoint, and then you have a nice like crisp looking cutout. So we're just going to go back real quick, and we're going to do about 20% blur. Oh, that's 30%, 22, that's close enough. And we're going to hit apply, and it's going to work to save this. And then once it's saved, let's say another thing that we can do real quick is I want to use the touch-up feature, because I have this weird shadow under my nose and I don't like it. So we're going to just sort of hit this shadow with the touch-up feature, and it's going to load. Loading. It's still loading. Okay, and you can see it didn't make a huge difference, but it is a good way to just sort of do little touches if you have like a weird flyaway hair, or, you know, a crease in your jacket that you didn't notice when you were taking the pictures. And that's just a quick, easy to use little tool that can help just do some nice finishes on your photo. There are some other features with the adjust image that you can do to up the contrast, lower the brightness, stuff like that. I'm not going to show you that. But one other thing I am going to show you is the crop feature. So what you can do is you can just, so if we go to crop and straighten, and then over here on the right, you can just hit under aspect ratio, you can hit square. That's going to do it just fine. But I will show you real quick on Photoshop Express, if you scroll down a little bit, there is an option for LinkedIn, and it is going to give you the exact dimensions for both a LinkedIn profile picture and a LinkedIn banner. I'm not going to hit the LinkedIn background because if I do, it'll make everything all funny and I haven't figured out how to fix it yet. If we hit LinkedIn profile, it's automatically going to square it for you. And then you could just hit crop image. And now you have a nice image that's going to be just the right size for LinkedIn. And then if we go to save it, we're just going to hit download. You see you can hit either JPEG or PNG. I would recommend a PNG. It is a higher quality photo, and if you download it, if you want a transparent background, you're going to have to do the PNG because the JPEG won't save a transparent background. So we're going to hit download. And we're going to hit save file, and it's not going to ask, I don't think it's going to prompt me to name it, but just so you do know, every time you download a photo off of Photoshop Express, it's going to save it as a separate file. So you don't have to worry about it overwriting the old ones or anything like that. If you want to have different versions that you can look at and then decide pick the best one from that, you can totally do that. Okay. So once you have your nice fancy new headshot, you can upload that to your LinkedIn or you can upload that to a blog. So I am going to show you a blog real quick that I created for class a few semesters ago in my master's program. And it was just something that was going to be real quick. I was using it to document the programs that I was doing as a part of the class. And the place that I did that was on Wix. And Wix is a super easy, very user-friendly website where you can build free platforms. It can be either a blog, it can be a portfolio, it can be a resume or a CV. You can do pretty much anything that you want that'll be professionally, it'll be geared professionally for you. So you can see this is managing makerspaces. Just real quick, I had 4 posts. It was really easy to sort of create the posts, add the images and format everything like that. And anything that you can't figure out, Wix has some really awesome help features that you can use to your advantage. And I made like this little about page, and it's nothing fancy, but it was something that worked and it got the point across for my class really well. Now you can see up here that the URL is makerspacemercedes.wixsite.com/mysite. You can get rid of that. That is something that you have to pay for to get a paid plan that deletes the Wix site, but that is another option if you decide, I don't feel that this is professional enough. I just want to have something that just says, it's just my website. And you can do that. If I show you here, this is the dashboard for the blog. I could change the plans. I could add a domain. I could, connect the mailbox, stuff like that. And, Wix is really awesome. It's really versatile. I can tell you that the Oriana website was also built in Wix. And I can't tell you how many times, I've heard or Deb has heard how amazing the website is. And that was all built by Deb through Wix using a lot of the help features to sort of figure it out. But it can, really be used to work for you and for what you need. And if you're using it to create a professional portfolio, which some people might do, depending on their job or their career, whatever, you can also go on Wix for that. So on Wix, there's the creation and the create platform. And then you can see they have over 800 templates available. And these are specifically portfolio and CVs, and then resume and CV website templates. So you can make a dynamic online resume. So, we can click on any of these to just sort of view them. Let's click on this one here because it's a nice linear looking one, and this isn't enough. So let's get the full demo and we can sort of see what it looks like. And, we've got this nice spot for a headshot right here. And then the name and the contact information. So I don't want to edit. And you can just see that this can be a really, really awesome way to sort of present yourself dynamically as you're doing job searches or as a way to promote the work that you're doing. And so that can take the form of either a portfolio with projects or, other types of work that you're doing, or you can write a blog. There are a lot of templates on Wix for that, and then you can use that blog or that portfolio and you can feature it on your LinkedIn page. And I will definitely say, if you create a portfolio or a blog, include that link in your resume when you submit a more traditional resume to companies when you're doing your job search. When creating articles or blog posts, so I didn't have to worry about this. Actually, I did a little bit. When I did my blog, this image here, I took from another, I didn't take that photo, that was from somewhere else. And I used a free website for that. And when you write blogs or articles, be it on LinkedIn itself or through your own personal blog or personal professional blog, you're going to want to make sure that the images that you're using are licensed to be used by other people. So there's a whole bunch of rules with the Creative Commons that can be sort of difficult to navigate, but the best way to find images that are going to work for you is to use a site like Pixabay. So Pixabay and other sites like Unsplash or Canva are going to be really great places to get high quality stock images that can be used for pretty much anything. Pixabay in particular often doesn't require you to get permission or to attribute credit. So if I wanted to write an article about libraries and I search for images about libraries on Pixabay, let's say I decide that I want to use this one here. You can see Pixabay license, free for commercial use, no attribution required. And that's really great. And you want to make sure that you're being conscious of that and aware of it, because you don't want your professional brand to infringe upon somebody else's, and it will only create problems for you down the road if you're using images incorrectly. So just making sure that you're giving credit where credit is due or needed, and you're using photos that are going to be, a boon to your professional brand rather than a negative is really important. And don't discount how far your online presence will go. Like Deb did, I know she did a presentation for Meals on Wheels like ages ago, and it's still available online. It wasn't meant to go online. It wasn't meant to be something that people would be able to see forever, but it is. So if you're creating things, just try to really be mindful of what you're putting out there and make sure that it is going to be representative of your brand long term. And speaking of, you get a really awesome LinkedIn page built, you get a really awesome online portfolio, you get a job interview, awesome, yay. They ask you to create a presentation for your interview. That doesn't have to be something that's super intimidating. I'm sure that many of us have done it. So I'm going to show you real quick an interview or a presentation that I made for an interview about a year and a half ago that, keep in mind, was for middle schoolers. It was not for, like C-suite execs or anything like that. So audience is key, cater to your audience, but also try to be engaging no matter who you're working towards. So I made this presentation here. And it was bright, it was engaging, it had a lot of photos that we took from our library when I went to go, present to these middle schoolers about the library resources that were available to them. I opened right off with a question to try to engage them a little bit more. And then I tried to keep the text, try to keep it not too text heavy because people don't really want to see that. So having a PowerPoint that is geared towards your audience is really important, but also something that showcases your skills and your strengths can be really helpful in the interview process. And I had like a week to prepare for this, so it wasn't like a super long time, but I was able to throw together something that was really informative and engaging and well suited to my audience. So I am showing you Google Slides right now because it is completely free to use. You just have to have a Google account. And it does have the advantage of, if you're going to in-person interviews, you don't know what sort of laptop you're going to have or projector. You don't know if you're going to be able to plug a thumb drive in. You're worried you're going to lose your thumb drive. You don't have to worry about any of that with Google Drive. you just log into your Google account anywhere you have a computer and the internet, and then you have it with you. You don't have to worry about downloading files or uploading files or anything like that. And it does have some different features compared to PowerPoint, but I'm going to talk about those a little bit. But, you know, beyond that, you can use either Google Slides or PowerPoint to your advantage greatly when doing these things. So, you know, this slide didn't look like this when I started, but I knew that the middle school that I was going to be presenting to, their school colors were blue and gold. So I actually went ahead and I edited the colors of my slides to make it better suited for who I was talking to and what I was talking about. And to do that in Google Slides, you can actually go up here in the top menu to slide and then edit master. So this is a really cool feature to, you know, say I want to shift this element over a little bit, or you can see I was sort of messing around with this earlier, and, you know, I've decided I don't want it to be yellow. I'd actually like the text to go back to white. And, you know, I don't exactly remember how I changed the colors on these, but these were not this color either originally. So I was able to really use this to my advantage to cater my PowerPoint to my audience and to my subject. So we're going to X out of that. And you can see it's now back to being white, and it'll apply that to every single slide that you use that format in. You don't have to change it every single time. It's just going to be there for you like that immediately. So I did want to, I know I'm getting closer to 7:45 than I was expecting. I did want to maybe take a minute to show people what to put into a slide or how to use PowerPoint to your advantage for some of these things. Is that something people have any interest in, or do you want me to move on to my next topic? If anyone has any opinions, feel free to chime in the chat.
Mercedes, I think it would be useful if you could pull up PowerPoint and at least show them the design option, so that
Okay.
I think most of this crew probably knows what information to put in, but may not know about the value of that design element and how professional it can look without having to work too hard.
Okay, totally. Can you see PowerPoint up on my screen right now?
Yes.
Cool. All right, so we're just gonna hit blank presentation. I'm gonna, let's see, let's change the layout. I don't wanna do that. We're gonna insert new slide, and I'm just gonna pick this one here with the two contents, because this is, you know, probably the most useful slide for most people. And let's say we're gonna do, real quick, we're just going to add in some text, and I will recommend that you put your text in first. Otherwise, it's not going to give you these design ideas that are best suited to what your slide is supposed to look like. But once you put in your text, PowerPoint automatically generates these design ideas. And I honestly, until very recently, I didn't even know that this was a thing, because I've sort of moved away from using PowerPoint. And I actually tend to use very structured themes. But depending on the presentation that you're giving, this feature can be really, really useful. So let's say that I want to do this slide. I'm giving a presentation about myself because I'm so amazing. And I want to do this as my first slide. So it gives you this really awesome, you know, big image of me that's like the half slide with the information, and it gives it this cool little orange bar. It changes the layout, changes the fonts and everything like that. Like it's like pretty awesome across the board. And then let's say we want to add a new slide. And we'll do this, and it's just going to be, because I am not creative enough to come up with more content, we're going to use the same photo and the same sort of thing. Say, we'll just do that. And then we click out of all of this, and it won't necessarily give you different ideas, but it will give you some different ones. So now we've got this cool sort of like fade, and you can see that this bar stays orange. So you sort of have that consistency throughout the slides. So that's really an awesome feature about PowerPoint that can be useful over Google Slides, and it really just depends on what you're looking for and what you need for which you choose. But this is a really awesome feature, and I'm so glad that I learned about it because it's a huge game changer. Okay, and so while I'm talking about this, actually, I do want to say that if you're ever presenting virtually in a virtual interview, um, when you're in PowerPoint, make sure that you do, in fact, hit the present button, because otherwise they're just going to be seeing this screen, and it's not going to give your audience the full effect. But speaking of virtual interviews, I do want to offer just some tips and tricks before we wrap up for the night. I know that Melissa is going to be talking to you in a few weeks about your building your look and your style and using that to your advantage when doing job searches or in the professional field. So I'm not going to go super in depth, but in case you have an interview between now and then, I'm just going to give you some quick tips. First of all, the most popular virtual meeting sites right now are Zoom, GoToMeetings, and Microsoft Teams. We are in Zoom right now. Zoom and GoToMeetings both have a free feature to practice your virtual interview before you go into it, and I would 100% recommend using that. We're all probably pretty comfortable with Zoom at this point, but if you've never used GoToMeetings or there's some things that you don't know how to do in Zoom, you can definitely use that to your advantage instead of trying to figure it out when you're in the middle of your interview. If you choose to, say, dial in with your phone for audio on Zoom, which you can do, make sure that the audio on your computer is turned off. I know it seems like a really small, insignificant thing, but if you forget, it can make some weird feedback sounds and it will make your interview less effective than it should be. My biggest tip, probably of everything I'm going to tell you tonight, you can turn off your microphone when in an interview. So I had one a month ago where it was virtual, and I was sitting there and I was talking for like an hour, and in between each question I would, because they have to finish writing their notes and everything, stop myself from talking. I would stop, I would turn my microphone off, and I would drink some water. So you can use that to drink, shift, clear your throat, anything that you need to do, and then you don't have to worry about them hearing that when they're while you're in the middle of your interview. But don't turn your camera off unless the world is ending or something major is happening. It's not the same as if you're in a business meeting and you're turning the camera off so you can shift or move around or something like that. It's not going to be great if you turn it off in the middle of your interview. You can, for more technological stuff, you can buy an external webcam, you can buy an external microphone, and you can buy a light ring. Some of these can be a little expensive. A webcam and a microphone can be a little bit on the pricier side, but the most effective option and the cheapest one is going to be the light ring. I'm using one tonight. It was $14.99 from Walmart, and it does make a big difference in making everything look a lot more professional and polished and making the lighting more even. So that's a great little relatively cheap option to just sort of up your virtual interview game. Now, as for actual setup, try to set the computer up as close to eye level as you can. So you don't want to be leaning down or cutting off your forehead or too much, space here. You want to keep it like with your headshot, center on forehead, face, upper shoulders. You can have a little bit of space around you. You can set up a nice background like I have or like Deb has, but that's going to be the major focus. So I can tell you right now that both my laptop and my light ring are set up on books. I'm pretty sure that Deb has her set up on a bunch of books too. So when I did my interview, I ran to the shelf and I grabbed some biographies and I shoved it under my computer right before the start of my interview. Whatever you have to do to make it work, getting it on the eye level can help you both keep eye contact with the camera and to, not feel like you're looming at the people you're speaking to. And just real quick, the last few, when, again, Melissa is going to give you some more information about this, but when you're dressing for your interview, try to avoid things like stark colors, black shirts, white shirts, red shirts. It can really wash you out even with the light rain. Try to avoid really strong patterns because it can be too jarring and can take the focus away from you. Try not to wear any loud jewelry, no bangles, no big earrings, anything like that. Like if you're like me, you can see I've been moving my hands around a lot. You don't want to be doing that and like making a lot of sound that's going to distract from what you're saying. Try to set up in some place that's quiet and without any distractions. So I can tell you right now that I have locked my partner away in the bedroom with the cat so that no one would be distracting me during this presentation. And try not to get anything like behind you, like a window or a mirror, because it can be distracting, and light from a window can sort of upset the color, like the light balance, and can actually like turn you into a black shadow. And then you're not the focus of your own interview. And if you get booted from the platform, don't panic about it. Everybody knows that it happens. If it's, try to be someplace where you have pretty stable internet, but, if you get dropped at one point, it's going to be okay. When I did my presentation, I was screen sharing, and just to do like when I did my interview, I was screen sharing to do a presentation. And when they went to go take away the permissions for screen sharing, they accidentally booted me from the entire interview. Try to keep the email up with your interview link so you can just go right back into it. And it can be a really good way to sort of showcase some more passive skills, like, ability to keep a level head and to just sort of like get back in. And then when I got in, it was like, there she is, and yay. And it was like a nice little laugh moment at the end of the interview when we had all sort of been a little tense. So that is basically it for me. I know that I am running short on time. I do have some additional free resources that I would like to share real quick. If people are open, I do understand that, it's 7:45 on a Wednesday night. If you have to run, that's totally fine. But I am going to just go over a few more things with those of you who decide to stay. There are a lot of awesome free resources out there, like a lot of awesome free resources. And I can't cover even close to all of them, but I can tell you about a few. The first one that I am going to tell you about is the hashtag free webinars or hashtag free training tag online. So this is something that's really awesome that you can use on LinkedIn or on Twitter, and you can actually search free webinars or free trainings, and you can see actually I'm right up here at the top. It's me and Michelle and me again and Amy. So once we get through like all of the Oriana stuff, you can see that there are a lot of like pretty cool webinars out there, and there are some really, really specific ones out there. Pretty much anything that you need to know, you'll probably be able to find it as a free webinar or as a free training. So I don't know what that was, but free training, commercial awareness for project managers. So like there's a boatload of topics out there and subjects for you to use to your advantage. And then again, for images, I already showed you Pixabay, but another website you can use is Unsplash. I use Pixabay almost exclusively, and I know that Deb uses Unsplash almost exclusively herself. They're pretty awesome resources, and just make sure that you're checking if you need to credit the original artist or not. Another similar one is going to be Canva. Canva is like an amazing marriage between Microsoft Publisher and Pixabay. So it's really awesome, really dynamic, free website. You do have to have an account, and you can do a paid version of Canva, but you can also just use the free version. And you can use it to make anything from a brochure to an infographic to presentations to greeting cards to resumes. And so you can use the resume feature here. Let me see if I can find it. And there are going to be a lot of different templates, and some of these may not be useful depending on your professional level or your field, but there are a lot of templates that you can look through to sort of find what's going to work best for you. And let me me just see real quick. And you can use Microsoft Word as well. That is something, that is tried and true. It has resume templates on there. There are free resume template builders online. But I really like Canva because it has, this sort of dynamic outlines that you might not find elsewhere. So this one, it may not be the best for everyone, but it does have some pretty interesting sort of little bubbles here to draw attention to his work. And you can just see there are a lot of different professional resume resources or templates, and you can probably find one that's really well suited to you. And last but not least, the library. I love libraries, obviously. I've worked in libraries for like 5 years at this point. I'm getting a degree basically in librarianship. Like, I love libraries. And I can guarantee you, if you live near a major metropolitan area or you live in a state like Florida where there are library districts that will let you get a card for free, even if you don't live in that county, your library is going to offer some amazing resources for you. So this is my library. This is where I work. And we have over or close to 40 e-sources, electronic resources. And this can vary from anything like the local newspaper backlog. It can be Gale legal forms, where it's all legal forms that pertain to Florida, so that people can file them and find them easier. Things like the New York Times, you can access the New York Times online for free through my website. O'Reilly, which was formerly Safari Books, and that has more than 50,000 titles on things like computing technology and business. And then like tutor.com is pretty cool because it actually lets you as an adult drop off a resume and someone will review it for you for free through your library. And then like Transparent Language, you can learn a new language through your library. So I can't guarantee that your library is going to have something. If you live in a small town, you may not have the same resources that my county does. But in New Hampshire, the New Hampshire State Libraries offer a lot of services to those small libraries that can't afford it otherwise. So there are probably options for you out there. You just maybe need to look. And if you have questions, call your local library. I can guarantee you your local librarian is going to be thrilled to help you. That is what we're there for. There is no question too small and there is no question too stupid. I have helped people set up Kindles over the phone without ever seeing the Kindles. I've helped people reactivate the App Store on their phone. I have no idea how they got it turned off in the first place, but like anything you can think of, your local librarian can probably help you, and that is what they're there for. They are there to help and they want to help, and support your local libraries. So I think that that's it for me tonight. If anyone has any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. I'm happy to hang out for a few minutes until Deb closes everything down. But I do want to say thank you for coming, and I hope that this was at least a little bit helpful for you. And again, we are going to be creating a document with the links to some of those websites and resources that I talked about. So keep an eye out for an email about that in the next few days. And I will turn it back over to Deb.
Mercedes, before you stop sharing your screen, if you could just pull Wix back up. I think it's important that we mention one thing to people if they're going to build a professional portfolio on Wix.
Yes, sorry, I just had to find it.
I know you have a million
Wix.
tabs
I have
open.
a lot of tabs open right now.
If you go to one where you're actually in a dev site for them. Yeah.
The same one or a different one?
It doesn't matter. I just want to be able to show them the mobile versus.
Right. I did forget about that.
That's okay. So if as you can see what Mercedes has up on her screen, it's a really important feature because of how many people are viewing things on their mobile devices as opposed to their desktop. My recommendation to you is to build in the desktop version first, and then go to mobile and do all of the edits in mobile. When you edit in mobile on Wix, it will not change the desktop version that you've created. And you'll find that some of the elements you may put in your desktop version of your professional portfolio or your CV may not look as good in mobile. And so you may actually reduce the number of elements that you have. in the mobile version of your professional portfolio. But it is up in the top left-hand corner that you can toggle back and forth between the two what we call development sites. So that way you're making sure that your focus isn't on whatever one you do. But the big recommendation is do everything you can in desktop first, then switch to mobile to make that change. But I will tell you that if recruiters are pulling up your link from your LinkedIn page, or they're pulling it up from a resume that they're viewing on their phone, they may actually view your professional portfolio that you've created in Wix on their phone. And so it will look odd if you don't manage both of those edits. And Mercedes was right that this is a great tool with a lot of great helpful resources. And it's very intuitive. And that's coming from someone who doesn't spend all their time doing this. So I just wanted to make sure we reminded you of that feature so you didn't end up with a weird looking mobile site after you developed a great desktop.
All right, am I good to stop sharing my screen?
I think so. Are there any other questions tonight from anyone? Just wanted to make sure we give you a chance if you had a specific question from a text perspective, from a tech perspective. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us. Just want to say thank you to Mercedes. We asked you to cover a ton tonight. And so, as she mentioned, we'll be emailing out all of those links to you. That way you have access to them. I know many of you were taking notes along the way. But if you do have follow-up questions about this, you can email Mercedes directly at research@orianasolutions.net, or you can email us at the general company email at connect@orianasolutions.net, and we'll make sure that we get you connected with the answers that you need. And then, of course, I just want to remind you about the remaining sessions that we have coming up over the next few weeks. Next week's is all about professional brand with Ellen. After that, we'll be doing specifically a session on recruiters and search firms, and you do not want to miss that either if you're in the middle of a job search. And that will be with Caitlin Jurls of Career Productions. And then Melissa Pratt will be talking to you about personal style and confidence. And then I'll end the series later in February with a session all about leadership and the trends and what's going to be expected of you both in the virtual and in-office environments as a leader as we move forward in 2021. So again, thanks for joining us tonight. Mercedes, you were excellent. Thank you for talking us through. I learned something new every time you do this, and appreciate all of you, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.